Houston, we've had a problem. The words crackle through space, flat and calm, but behind them, Jim Lovell's stomach drops. A shudder just ripped through the ship. Warning lights bloom across the control panel like a Christmas tree gone wrong. Oxygen tank 2, empty. Oxygen tank 1, bleeding out into the vacuum of space. 200,000 miles from home, 3 men are running out of air. 9 minutes earlier, this was routine. Swigert had flipped a switch to stir the oxygen tanks. A small, ordinary task done 100 times before. Then came the bang. Not a bump, not a rattle. A deep, structural crack that shook the whole spacecraft, rattling teeth and tools and clipboards loose. Lovell looked out the window and saw it, a thin white cloud venting from the side of the ship, spinning slowly into the black. Their air, their power, leaking away in silence, molecule by molecule, into nothing. In Houston, the room goes cold in a different way. Flight Director Gene Kranz stares at telemetry that doesn't make sense. Numbers falling too fast, alarms overlapping alarms, controllers talking over each other in clipped, urgent bursts. This isn't a glitch. This is real. And there is no rulebook for it. The math is brutal. The command module, Odyssey, has maybe 15 minutes of power left before it goes dark. If it dies, so do they. No power means no navigation, no communication, no way home. So the crew does something that sounds almost insane. They abandon ship, not into space, but into the lunar module, Aquarius. A tiny 2-man lifeboat, built to land 2 people on the moon for 2 days, now has to keep 3 men alive for 4 days in the freezing dark of deep space, stretched far beyond anything it was designed to survive. Every system gets rationed. Power down to a trickle, barely enough to keep the instruments breathing. Water down to 6 ounces a day, less than a cup, because the fuel cells need it more than the men do. The temperature drops toward freezing. Frost creeps across the windows, across the walls, across bare metal bolts. Breath turns visible inside the capsule. Sleep is nearly impossible. The astronauts shiver through it, curled against instrument panels. Boots slick with condensation, faces gaunt with exhaustion and cold. Then a quieter danger creeps in. The air itself turns poisonous. Carbon dioxide climbs steadily as 3 men breathe inside a can built for 2, and the readings on the gauge keep ticking toward the danger line. The square filters from Odyssey don't fit the round holes in Aquarius. On the ground, a team locks themselves in a room with exactly the same junk the astronauts have on board. A sock, a plastic bag, cardboard from a manual, duct tape, and builds a fix from scratch, working against a clock no one can see. It has to work first try. There's no way to test it in space. They radio up the instructions, piece by piece, patient and precise, and 3 exhausted men build a life support patch by hand. In the dark, 4 days from home. It works. The numbers start falling. The final terror comes at the end. To get home, Aquarius has to fire its engine perfectly. No guidance computer built for this. Calculations done partly by hand, aimed using the Earth itself as a targeting point in the window. Held steady by human eyes alone. One mistake and they skip off the atmosphere forever, lost in orbit around the sun with no way back. Then comes re-entry, and with it, the blackout. Radio silence, always expected, always brutal. 90 seconds pass, no signal. Then 100. Mission control stands frozen. Eyes locked on dead air, stopwatches ticking past every number they braced for. Behind those quiet headsets, no one is breathing. At last, a crackle. A voice. Splashdown confirmed. 3 parachutes blossom over the Pacific, and in an instant, the silence in Houston breaks into cheering, into tears, into grown men pounding each other on the back. Odyssey hits the water. Lovell, Swigert, and Hayes, cold, dehydrated, and alive, step out into the sunlight of a world they weren't sure they'd ever see again. Failure was never an option, and somehow, against every number on every screen, it wasn't. If this story gave you chills, tell us in the comments what part gripped you the most. And follow along for more true stories where the odds said no, and people made it out anyway.